Hello big fellow. Today we will talk about a theory in microbiology, named the germ theory of disease. At present, you probably know that diseases are caused by some microorganisms called pathogens. But who was the first to discover it? So without further ado, let's find the answers. The germ theory of disease is the currently accepted scientific theory for many diseases. It states that microorganisms known as pathogens or germs can cause disease. Germ refers to not just a bacterium but to any type of microorganism, such as protists or fungi, or even non-living pathogens that can cause disease, such as viruses, prions, or viroids. Diseases caused by pathogens are called infectious diseases. The germ theory of disease was first proposed by the French chemist and microbiologist Louis Pasteur in the mid-19th century. Pasteur conducted a series of experiments that showed that microorganisms could cause fermentation and putrefaction. He also showed that these microorganisms could be killed by heat, which led to the development of pasteurization. One of the most famous of Pasteur's experiments was the swan-necked flask experiment. In this experiment, Pasteur sterilized broth, a savory liquid made by simmering meat, fish, or vegetables in water, in two flasks. One flask had a long, curved neck that was bent downward, like a swan's neck. The other flask had a straight neck. Pasteur then exposed both flasks to the air. The broth in the flask with the straight neck quickly became cloudy and foul-smelling. This was because the air in the flask contained microorganisms that contaminated the broth. However, the broth in the flask with the swan-necked neck remained clear and odorless. This was because the microorganisms in the air were unable to reach the broth due to the bend in the neck. Pasteur's swan-necked flask experiment showed that microorganisms in the air can cause food to spoil and that these microorganisms can be prevented from reaching food by using a barrier, such as a curved neck. This experiment provided strong evidence for the germ theory of disease and helped to disprove the theory of spontaneous generation, which stated that living organisms could arise from non-living matter. To know more about the theory of spontaneous generation, and the correct theory which is biogenesis, we recommend this video. Anyway, let's continue. Pasteur also conducted other experiments to support his germ theory of disease. For example, he showed that microorganisms could cause diseases in animals, such as chicken cholera and anthrax. He also showed that these diseases could be prevented by vaccinating animals with weakened or killed microorganisms. Robert Koch further developed the theory with his experiments on anthrax, tuberculosis, and cholera. He developed a set of postulates, now known as Koch's postulates, that could be used to prove that a particular microorganism caused a particular disease. These postulates are still used today to confirm the cause of infectious diseases. In 1876, Koch isolated the bacteria that causes anthrax, Bacillus anthracis. He showed that this bacteria was present in all animals with anthrax, but not in healthy animals. He also showed that he could cause anthrax in healthy animals by injecting them with the bacteria. In 1882, Koch isolated the bacteria that causes tuberculosis, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. He showed that this bacteria was present in all patients with tuberculosis, but not in healthy people. He also showed that he could cause tuberculosis in healthy people by injecting them with the bacteria. In 1883, Koch isolated the bacteria that causes cholera, Vibrio cholerae. He showed that this bacteria was present in the stool of patients with cholera, but not in healthy people. He also showed that he could cause cholera in healthy people by feeding them the bacteria. Koch's postulates are as follows. The microorganism must be present in all cases of the disease, but not in healthy individuals. The microorganism must be isolated from a diseased individual and grown in pure culture. The pure culture of the microorganism must cause the disease when it is inoculated into a healthy individual. The microorganism must be re-isolated from the inoculated diseased individual and identified as being identical to the original specific causative agent. Koch's postulates have been criticized for being too rigid and for not being applicable to all diseases. However, they remain an important tool for identifying the causes of infectious diseases. The work of Robert Koch and other scientists who developed the germ theory of disease had a profound impact on public health. It led to the development of vaccines, antibiotics, and other treatments for infectious diseases. It also led to improvements in sanitation and hygiene, which have helped to reduce the spread of disease. Remember we said that microorganisms can spoil food. Surprisingly, they can be used to preserve food too. That's how fermented foods are made. See this video to know more about it. Stay safe. Signing off microbiology-ish.